Hello there and welcome to today's ride and welcome to New Bike Day. As you've probably already seen, the bike I'm riding today is a little bit unusual and not the normal sort of one that I would ride. The model is a city van tour and it's been sent to me by a company called Van Power to test out. As the name suggests, this is much more of a city bike. It's not the sort of bike that you want to jump on and ride 30-40 kilometers to get some exercise. It's designed to essentially be a car replacement. Now, I heard a really scary statistic fairly recently that 80% of car journeys here in the UK, and I suspect in the US as well, are under 5 miles. So with the price of petrol here in the UK at a record high of about £1.70 a litre, and that translates to about $10 a gallon. Yes, I know. You can see how important it is to at least try and supplement some of the journeys that you'd make by car, by bike. One of the other unusual things about this bike is that it's a fixie, so it's got a freewheel hub so you can freewheel, but it's only got one gear, and that's driven by another unusual feature, which is a Gates carbon belt drive. Now this is a little bit like a fan belt in a car, only it's got teeth on it, and the advantages of that are that it's smooth and it doesn't use any oil or grease, so that it's very, very clean. It's also incredibly strong. Apparently one of these belt drives will last up to 4 times more than a regular bike chain, and I must admit that I did have my doubts about it being a little bit on the heavier side, but no, it works very, very well. As you can see, it's a pretty good looking bike. This particular one comes in black, but if you go onto the website, there's a whole load of different colours that you can choose from, and I suspect you could probably mix and match them as well. And that's because this bike uses a modular system. Now what that means is, when this bike came to me, it was literally in bits and I had to put it all together myself. Now the company did share a video with me about how to do that, although I think that may be for internal use only, but I know for a fact that there is a sheet that you can download with full instructions on how to do it. It took me about 2.5 hours to put the bike together, and it uses what they call a mortise and tenon system. So the bike is made from aircraft grade aluminium tubing, and what you do, you slide all of that together and then secure the tubes by bolts. Now obviously one of the main concerns is going to be safety. I put the bike together myself, but I don't have a background in engineering and I'm not a qualified bike mechanic or anything, so the concern for me is the bolts, are they going to stay secure and tight? So that's something that will need to be checked from time to time, and there are quite a lot of bolts on the bike. Now, having said that, most normal bikes do have bolts on them as well that you don't really worry too much about, and I'm thinking particularly the headset bolts. Yes, they do need checking from time to time, but they very rarely come undone. In case you're wondering, Van Powers do also send you all of the tools that you need to put the bike together. Now, apart from the rather unusual method of construction, the bike is pretty normal in other respects. So it uses regular sized road wheels, so 700s by 28s, and it uses Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. But the real surprise about the City Van Tour is that it's actually an e-bike. I'm sure that just by looking at it you would never know, and that's thanks to the battery that's hidden in the down tube. Now, like all rechargeable batteries, they only have a limited lifespan, and when this particular battery reaches the end of its life, you can replace it, I would imagine, and it's simply a question of just buying the battery, and then yes, it's going to be a bit of a ball ache to take the bike apart and put it all back together again, but at least you don't have to write the entire bike off simply because the rechargeable batteries reach the end of its life. And as an e-bike, the spec isn't too bad either. It has 5 levels of assist. It uses a 250 watt brushless motor here for the European version. If you're buying one in the US, I believe that motor's rated at 350 watts. The battery takes about 4 hours to charge, and the range is claimed to be between 60 and 80 kilometers, and that works out to about 40 to 50 miles. It has a top speed when motor assisted of 25 kilometers an hour, and yeah, the whole thing weighs 15.5 kilos or 34 pounds, which again, as e-bikes go, is pretty light. The motor is controlled by a little controller on the left-hand handlebar. You press the lower button once to switch the bike on, and then you have 5 levels of assist plus switching the motor off completely, so you're on your own power. It has the coolest screen of any bike that you could wish to see, because it's colour and it's fully integrated into the headset there. This cycling computer that I'm using at the moment is my own one, just so that I can record my rides and send it to Strava. Plus I've also added this little indicator which is part of the smart helmet, so these two things don't actually come with the bike itself. Actually, riding the bike is great. It's fun, it's nice and smooth, and it feels nice and solid. On the flat it's absolutely fine, and those 4 levels of assist kind of work a little bit like gears. It's a little unusual having just one speed and not having any gears, and even though it does have the 5 levels on there, I would like to be able to just vary my cadence a little bit, but you know, that's all fine. The only trouble that I do have with the bike is that when I'm going up climbs of more than about 4%, I do find it is a little bit on the sluggish side, and that could possibly be due to me being just that little bit heavier. All things considered, I rather like this City Van Tours bike. Okay, on the downside, yes, you do have to put it all together yourself, and you will be constantly trying to make sure that those bolts are sufficiently tight, and yes, it would be nice to have some gears so you can vary your cadence, and okay, it's a little bit sluggish on the steeper climbs, but then on the positive side, it's fun to ride, it's smooth, it's a great looking bike, it's not so heavy for an e-bike, and it should work really well as a car replacement for all of those short little journeys that you'll do, and you should hopefully save yourself a fair bit of cash in fuel. According to the Van Powers website, the retail price for this bike is about £1,900. So if you budget for, say, a £50 a month saving in fuel, that's going to take you more or less about 3 years before this bike pays for itself. Now, that doesn't obviously take into account things like being green, you know, not sitting in your car for hours on end in traffic jam, and just the fun of getting out on the bike and getting a bit of exercise. If you'd like more information, then I will leave a link to that website in the description below. I'm relatively new when it comes to e-bikes, and the first time I ever rode one was when I used an e-road bike to cycle across Tuscany in Italy. And if you'd like to see how I got on, then click on the video just here. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.